The galaxy had always laughed at Earth. To them, humans were weak, emotional, slow to advance, easy to control. But now, no one was laughing. The news of the Apex surrender spread like fire across the stars. Entire systems that once bowed to the Apex Empire turned off their beacons in silent celebration. And in the center of it all was the one they feared most. Not a fleet, not a nation, just her, the girl they once chained, the one who stood alone against an army. Her image flashed across every planet where humans lived, on the moons of Jupiter, in the dust tunnels of Mars, in far colonies once abandoned by Earth's governments. Kids drew her face on walls. Old soldiers whispered her name. Resistance members came out of hiding. And the message was clear. She's not a ghost. She's real. And she fights for us. Back at the remains of Earth HQ, scientists watched the data she left behind. Her movements, her biology, her ability to think faster than artificial minds. She shouldn't exist, one of them said, shaking his head. She was made for war, nothing more. But another scientist disagreed. No, she was made to protect what we gave up on. Our pride, our people. She's not just a weapon. She's a reminder. And far above, inside the quiet shell of the broken Apex flagship, she stood by a wide observation window. Alone, watching the stars. A small human scout ship approached slowly. It didn't have weapons. It just carried one old woman, the same general who once gave the order to chain her years ago. Now that woman stood in front of her with hands behind her back. No guards, no lies. I was wrong, she said simply. You weren't the monster. We were just scared of what you could become. The girl didn't answer at first. She looked at the stars, then back at Earth below. I don't blame you, she said. You were just like them. Afraid of change. The general nodded. Then, what now? She stepped forward. I've seen what's out there, she said. I've seen how they treat us. Like prey, like slaves. That ends now. You want revenge. She shook her head. No, I want justice. She paused, then added, and I want the galaxy to know. We may fall. We may bleed. But we will never be chained again. A new ship was built for her. It wasn't huge, but it was fast. Sharp, built from pieces of Apex tech, human engineering, and a bit of mystery. Its hull carried no flag. Its name was written in old Earth text, in letters simple and bold. Freedom 1. She boarded it alone. No crew, no backup. She didn't need either. Her first destination, a small mining colony where humans were still being used as workers by the alien race known as the Credari. Within hours of her arrival, the Credari overlords were on their knees. They surrendered without a single shot fired. They had seen the footage. They knew what she could do. The slaves were freed. And for the first time in years, the colony raised the Earth banner again, this time by choice, not force. Planet by planet, story by story, her legend grew. Some called her the Chainbreaker. Others called her the Ghost of Earth. But across the galaxy, one name rose above all others. Humanity's last weapon. She didn't ask for thanks. She didn't want statues. But in the heart of every freed soul, in every child no longer afraid of alien patrols, she had already become something greater than any army. A symbol, a warning, and a promise. Humanity was no longer weak. Humanity remembered. Humanity stood tall. And as she vanished into the stars once more, chasing the next cry for help, the galaxy held its breath. Because they knew, the girl they once chained was no longer a prisoner. She was a storm. And this time, she chose her fight. The sky above Earth turned dark. Not from clouds, but from ships. Alien warships, sharp and black like knives, covered the atmosphere. They were massive, built for one thing only: destruction. Inside the lead ship, Commander Scar of the Vorex Apex Hunters stood on the bridge. His yellow eyes scanned the feed. Below, the Earth base was silent. No movement, no resistance, except for one thing. One girl. She was supposed to be chained, Scar growled. She was, replied his second-in-command. But she woke up. Scar stared at the last footage. Her golden eyes, the way she moved, the way she killed. I've hunted titans, crushed warlords. But this is something else. Still, he didn't feel fear. Not yet. Send the ground troops, he ordered. I want her brought in, dead or alive. On Earth, she walked through the ruins of the lab. No bullets, no blades, no screens now. Everyone was gone. The cold air blew dust across the floor. Red lights flickered. Sparks fell from broken machines. She paused in front of a cracked mirror. She looked at herself, barefoot, in a white torn suit, blood drying on her hands. She didn't feel guilt. She didn't feel joy. Only silence. But then she looked up. Through the glass ceiling, black ships floated like sharks above water. They're here, she whispered. A Vorex dropship hit the ground like thunder. The side doors flew open. 10 apex hunters stepped out, tall, armored, covered in trophies from dead worlds. Their weapons glowed. Their claws clicked. They were used to fear. They saw none in her. Stand down, the leader barked. We are the apex. Kneel, and we may spare you. She didn't move. Instead, she blinked, and then vanished. In a flash, she was behind them. The first two never even turned around. Their heads hit the ground before their bodies did. The rest opened fire, but she was too fast. She ran up the wall, spun midair, and landed in the middle of them. Her foot smashed into one's chest. The armor cracked like glass. Another tried to stab her with a plasma blade. She caught his arm and snapped it backward, then used it to stab his partner. Screams filled the air. One soldier dropped his weapon and ran. She didn't chase. She let him go. Let him carry the story back to the fleet. Up above, Commander Scar watched the horror unfold. 5 seconds. That's all it took. 9 of his best were dead. The last one returned, panting, bleeding. Monster. She's a monster. Scar growled. That's no girl. That's a weapon. A human-made nightmare. His officers looked uneasy. One of them said, Commander, should we call reinforcements? No, Scar hissed. We finished this. We came to break Earth, not run from it. But she is alone. We are a fleet. Send everything we have. Burn that place to the ground. Back on Earth, she stood on a hill outside the destroyed facility. Black ships began falling from the sky. Dozens. Hundreds. The ground shook with their weight. Columns of fire burst from the earth as plasma missiles hit the trees. Forests turned to ash. Troop carriers landed, spilling out armies. Drones buzzed like angry insects. Walkers stomped across the rocks, scanning for targets. From a distance, she watched. Her eyes narrowed. Her heart, once human, beat faster. She didn't feel fear. She felt alive. She cracked her knuckles and ran into the fire. The battlefield burned. Trees turned to ash. The sky was full of smoke and fire. Alien troops searched the hills, ready to destroy anything that moved. And still, she moved among them like a shadow. They called her a monster, but they didn't know the truth. She wasn't made to kill. She was made because humanity was out of time. Years ago, Earth had begged for peace. The Galactic Council had arrived in ships that sparkled like stars. Their voices were calm, full of promises. We come in peace, they said. Join us. Share your world. Share your future. Earth agreed. Slowly, the Council took what they wanted. Earth's oceans were drained for fuel. Mountains were ripped open for rare metals. People disappeared, first in dozens, then in thousands. When world leaders protested, the council smiled. You signed the treaty, they said. This is legal. But Earth hadn't signed a death sentence. Then came the resistance. Secret groups of humans refused to give in. They hid in bunkers. They smuggled data. They built weapons. And deep underground, they created her. She was not a robot. She was human, at least at first. A child born in the ruins, taken by scientists, altered cell by cell. Her bones were stronger. Her muscles could tear metal. Her brain processed data 10 times faster than a computer. She could heal, adapt, learn. She didn't cry as a baby. She never asked for a name. She only asked, "When do I fight?" But even the resistance feared her. After the council was defeated in one small battle, they hid her away, chained her deep underground, hoping they'd never have to use her again. They wanted peace, but peace never came. Now she stood alone against the Apex army. Her fists glowed red with blood and fire. Her body moved through their lines like lightning. 1 second she was kicking a tank in half. Next, she was ripping the legs off a walker drone. Every bullet they fired missed. Every blast they launched was too slow. Commander Scar watched from above, stunned. She doesn't stop, he growled. She doesn't break. She's not fighting like a soldier, said his second in command. She's fighting like she hates us. Scar narrowed his eyes. Why? On the ground, she flipped over a crashed gunship and tore out the engine. The blast threw 3 Apex warriors into the trees. As she stood over them, she said just one word. Earth. One of the wounded aliens coughed. What are you? She looked down at him. I'm what you made me. Far away, satellites picked up the fight. Across the galaxy, secret human channels came alive. Old resistance cells woke up. Veterans who had given up hope stared at their screens, eyes wide. She's real, one whispered. The chained girl. The one we built. She's back. Back on the ship, Commander Scar paced the bridge. She's just one weapon, he shouted. Why does she keep winning? The ship's AI replied in a flat tone. Because she was made to destroy people like you. Scar's claws gripped the rail. Then we destroy the entire area. No more ground war. No more rules. Fire the orbital cannon. Now. In the forest, the girl looked up. A red light began to grow in the sky, large and hot. The Apex ship's main cannon was charging. One shot could vaporize a city. She didn't run. She didn't hide. Instead, she closed her eyes and whispered, You tried to bury us. Her skin began to shift. Muscles tightened. Eyes glowed like stars. Her entire body seemed to hum with power. You forgot. She crouched. That seeds grow back stronger. And then she leaped, straight into the sky. The Apex flagship floated high above Earth, its dark hull glowing with red energy. The main cannon had fully charged. The blast would erase everything below. Her, the forest, the ruins, even the truth. Commander Scar stood tall on the bridge, his hand hovering over the command console. Fire now, he ordered. The countdown began. 5, 4, 3. Boom. Something hit the ship, hard. The bridge shook. Officers stumbled. The countdown stopped. What was that? Scar growled. The screen blinked. Then came the impossible image. Her. She stood on the outer hull of the ship. No armor, no suit, just skin, scars, and fire in her eyes. She jumped. From the surface, an officer gasped. Scar's mouth opened, but no words came. Before he could speak again, the outer cameras sparked and went black. The hull was being torn apart. She ripped open metal like it was paper. The ship tried to shake her off. Engines fired, missiles launched, but she moved too fast. She reached the cannon bay, kicked through the blast doors, and dropped into the control room like a falling star. Alien engineers screamed. She didn't stop. Her hand slammed into the power core. Sparks exploded. Energy systems failed. One final kick, and the main cannon cracked. Then, silence. The entire ship went dark. Back on the bridge, Commander Scar staggered as alarms screamed in every direction. Main weapon destroyed. She's inside the ship. All forces retreating. Scar slammed his fist on the console. No more running. He grabbed his blade and marched toward the central elevator. If no one else will kill her, I will. She walked calmly through the dark corridors of the ship. Apex soldiers fled before her. Some fired in panic, missed. Others dropped their weapons and ran. She didn't chase them. She didn't need to. They had already lost. The fear was already inside them. At the heart of the ship, heavy doors opened. Commander Scar stepped forward, his blade glowing red. His armor was thick, his eyes full of rage. "You think you're strong," he shouted. "You're just a broken human science project." She didn't speak. She just looked at him. And then they clashed. The fight shook the entire ship. Blades sliced air. Fists shattered steel. Sparks flew as Scar's weapon struck her arm, drawing blood. But she didn't fall. She hit back, hard. Her elbow cracked his helmet. Her knee crushed his ribs. Her roar shook the walls. "You chained me," she said, voice sharp. "You hunted my people. You stole our world. You thought we'd kneel." Scar gasped, backing up. "We are the Apex." She grabbed his throat. Not anymore. With a single twist, he was down. Not dead, just broken. She dropped his blade and walked away. Minutes later, the Apex fleet began sending signals. Surrender codes. One by one, their ships powered down. Their weapons were shut off. Troops dropped to their knees and raised their hands. No one ordered them. No one needed to. She had done what no army ever could. She broke the Apex without killing them all, by showing them what fear really looked like. Across Earth, humans watched the skies. The black clouds of enemy ships turned off, dimmed, and slowly began to fall or fly away. Cheers broke out. Old radios buzzed to life. Resistance leaders wept. She did it. In the shadows of a quiet mountain, a secret human command center opened its doors. The old general who once signed the order to chain her stood in the doorway. "She's not our weapon anymore," he said. "No," someone replied. "She's our warning." Far above, she stood alone on the broken Apex flagship. The stars were quiet again. She looked out at the galaxy and whispered, "Tell them I'm coming." The lights were dim in the underground facility. Thick steel walls surrounded the deepest level, where only a few humans were allowed to go. Cameras watched every corner. Alarms were silent, but always ready to scream. In the center of the cold chamber, she sat. Her arms were chained. Her legs too. Even her neck had a thick metal collar with blinking red lights. She didn't move. She didn't blink. She looked like a statue, but she was alive, waiting. Her name was classified. The people above called her Unit 9. Some whispered other names. The final weapon, the silent girl, or just her. But no one dared get close. She had been created, not born. Grown in a secret lab with human DNA mixed with something else. Something old. Something powerful. She had never seen the sun. Never stepped outside. From the day she opened her eyes, she was trained to fight. Not just with fists or guns, but with her mind, her senses, her rage. Now she sat in chains, not because she was a prisoner, but because humanity was afraid of what she might become. Then the alarm finally screamed. A red light filled the room. Far above, explosions echoed through the facility. The security feed blinked. Something was attacking. The guards outside her cell ran to their stations. "Unknown intruders. Breach in Sector 3, shouted a voice over the speakers. Inside the chamber, the girl's eyes opened. Gold. Sharp. Like a predator. She didn't panic. She didn't speak. She simply listened. More booms, screams. The guards' weapons fired once, then silence. The heavy doors to her level started to open. Outside, a team of aliens moved fast. Tall, armored creatures with black scales and burning red eyes. They were apex predators, feared across the galaxy. They hunted planets, broke armies, and ate their enemies alive. Today, they had come for one thing: her. The lead alien stepped into the chamber. He looked at the girl in chains and hesitated. Something felt wrong. She didn't look dangerous. She looked calm. "This is the weapon," one of them growled. Another nodded. The humans feared her, kept her buried. "Break the chains." A metal claw reached out. The chains hissed and clicked open. She stood, slowly. No anger, no rush, just silence. The aliens raised their weapons. Then everything changed. In a blink, she moved. The first alien flew across the chamber, hitting the wall with a crack. The second one fired, but she was already behind him. Her hands moved like blades. Bones broke, armor bent, blood splashed. 3 down in 3 seconds. The leader tried to retreat. "She's not human," he shouted. She looked at him and for the first time spoke. "I was human. Once." Then she struck. The lights exploded. The cameras went dark. Only the sound of metal smashing and bodies hitting the ground filled the air. Above, the rest of the alien strike team watched on their screens. Then the feed cut. Nothing but static. One of them whispered, "What did we wake up?" Back in the chamber, she stood alone, surrounded by bodies. The chains lay on the floor, broken. Her collar blinked once, then dropped. She stepped out of the room. One step, then another. The alarms changed. The system now said something new. "Warning. Unit 9 has breached decontainment. Global level threat DTTT." But it was too late. She was free. And the galaxy had no idea what was coming next.